You're not gonna put yourself in this one?
Nah, I mean, nobody cares about me.
Oh, okay.
You know? I think that's true anyways. So we'll just be, like a ring. We'll just be like talking at each other. Cool. All right, we're good. All right. So, you actually, I haven't contacted anybody like to do the podcast.
Yeah.
Fortunate enough right now, people are contacting me, and I want to ride that wave for as long as I can.
Yeah.
What was it about? What was it that interested you in the first place to go on the show? Come closer.
Well, closer.
Yeah,
Closer.
please.
Is it really wide? What is it?
No, it's 50.
It's a 50.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're fine. Don't worry about that. You're a photographer, so you know.
Yeah. Yeah, my profile, about like right here.
Yeah.
Right? You got a project? I like collaborating. Wanted to help you out. See what you can make of this, and.
You say you wanted to help me out.
Yeah.
That's unique. What is it what kind of value do you have to offer the podcast? I mean, here we are, we're live, what kind of value do you have to offer the podcast?
I mean, me and you both filmmakers, both artists.
What do you know about me?
I just know you're a filmmaker.
Okay. Real brief history, you know what I mean? What I know about you, I used to work for, I think, your cousin. You guys are the two cousins?
Yes, Silver. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, used to work with them, and
Cool.
I had seen some of your work. I had edited some of your work.
Okay,
And
sweet.
You get to know somebody
Uh-huh.
when you edit their material. And I did this one thing for Valley Native. It was for
Was it
Biker Fest.
Oh, the biker, yes.
And
okay, Biker Fest, yeah.
and I could tell when you were behind the camera, big time. And I was like, Silver, like, why isn't this guy working full time here? This shit is bananas. And he's like, he's just kind of, well, anytime I need him, I'll call him. And I'm like, this guy should be your full time guy, because I got to cut your material, and that video, all the best shots are. I know that you were behind the camera, and there was a presence, there was a sense behind it. So that was my first impression of you. I had seen your work. When somebody had told me Eric Echo, and I was like, that sounds vaguely familiar. Let me look at this guy up. We were already friends on Facebook. I was like, what?
Yeah.
How did that happen? And then my girlfriend was a PA at a student film in UTPA, and she told me about you and that you acted, and I was like, okay, so this guy is a photographer, he's a filmmaker, he's an actor. This guy does many different things. I was like, this guy's really interesting. You are someone that eventually I would have had on the podcast for sure. I was fortunate enough that you reached out and you wanted to be on this. I look at that kind of like, okay, I got to be doing something right if people look at this as some sort of platform for themselves anyways. So tell me more about, what your whole deal is. How old are you?
24.
24. You're still pretty young. You going to school?
Just graduated, actually.
Oh, that's great. What did you, what was your major?
Film.
Film?
Yeah. Theater, well, technically under
Bachelor's?
theater. Yes, yeah.
Wow, that's cool. How was the institution?
For me, it was more about collaboration and connections more than technical, because I mean, you can learn anything yourself, really. The internet has everything.
How was the institution? How was college for connections and people?
It was great. It got you out of your shell. At first, I was very nervous. I didn't know anybody, and they force you to sort of get in there and collaborate with people that you don't know. And it was good. You made a lot of friends, and I'm still working with them today, and I'm glad I made those connections. And
I see sometimes online that you go out of town.
Yeah.
You know people out there?
Yeah. Recently, I went to Austin and shot this music video for this band Telenovela. They're actually coming down here pretty soon in September. Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm talking to the promoter. I forgot your name, but I want to play with them.
You're a musician as well?
Yeah.
What do you play?
I sing, I play guitar, drums, whatever.
Really?
Yeah. But mostly sing. That's probably what I'm better at performing. I can't really, play guitar.
It's you have your hand in many different cookie jars, which is pretty cool. I've always envied those types of people. I'll be honest. I have a friend who's a master guitar guitarist. You know, shout out to Guillen. This guy, I met him when we were freshmen, and I was just completely intimidated by him, enamored, you know, got all the girls' attention, all that stuff. The best part is, you know, if you're a photographer or a filmmaker, you know, I tell people I'm a filmmaker. They have to like buy my movie or go online to watch it. It takes a long time to impress somebody. But if you're a guitarist, you can literally panhandle outside and make money, and you can impress people, you know, because you're the instrument. And I've always liked that. Out of all these different hats that you wear, which one would you say primarily is your identity, if you had to pick one?
Identity, that's hard. That's something we're all still trying to figure out.
You're still working through that?
Yeah. I mean, I started off as a skateboarder, and then I got into film.
I didn't want to presume. I have seen your skateboarding photography.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I didn't want to assume that you actually did a skateboarding stuff too.
Yeah, well, that's how I got into film, actually. You know, as a skateboarder, you want to watch and see as much as you can. So
is that your favorite hat to wear?
As I'm getting older and not skating as much, you know, it's slowly drifting away, but I still go back every now and then to shoot my friends, because now they're blowing up and I want to support them and get photos out for them and stuff. But physically, not really, but emotionally, spiritually, yeah. I love skateboarding. That is my like
it takes its
my
toll,
roots.
Skateboarding?
Yeah, but
how does a Rodney Mullen, this guy's like what, 40 now? How does he still do this?
It's timeless. It's something that keeps you young forever. Skateboarding. It's awesome. But if you don't do it for a while, you know, your body forgets, but your mind still thinks you can do it. And every time I go out, I'm like, yeah, I can still do these tricks and stuff. And then, you know, the next couple of days, I'm like, oh fuck, like my body didn't remember. But that's how I got into film, watching all those skate videos. I got one of those cameras with the fisheye lens, and started making my own little short films with my friends and our skateboarding. And then I was like, you know what, I'll study film. I really love doing it. I think I'm good at it, so why not? And got into doing short films, which started off as class projects. I had never done a short film until they required us to do it. And I was like, you know, I'm pretty good at telling stories and, you know, putting out messages, so why not just keep doing it? And that was just another medium, you know. As an artist, I'm sure you know, we see things as mediums, you know. You just put it out, music, film, photography, whatever. It's a medium. You tell a story. And that's how I feel about it.
Growing up, you grew up here in the Valley, born and raised.
For the most part, yeah.
Do you have older siblings?
Yeah, they're all older.
Are you the youngest?
I'm the only child of my parents, and then both my parents have other kids, and I grew up with them.
Okay, like half brother, half sister?
Yeah, half brothers, half sisters.
Okay. You grew up, were you close with them?
Yes, very close with them.
Were any of them...
musically, film, no.
No, but did they ever pass down any gems? You know, like here's a Pink Floyd album, here's something like this. Like, did you ever...
My father was the biggest influence.
Okay, tell me more about him.
When I was a kid, driving in the car, he'd play all the classic 70s, oldies stuff. The Beatles, Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, and got me into all of that. And I remember this one instance where we were in San Antonio. I was like, maybe like 7 years old, and we're at Sam Goody. Do you remember Sam Goody?
Yeah, I had my first kiss at a Sam Goody. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I had these two CDs. I had Led Zeppelin, Greatest Hits, and I had a Van Halen CD in my hand. And I was like, Dad, which one should I get? And he was like, get the Led Zeppelin CD. And from then on...
That's the right answer.
Yeah. So I got the Led Zeppelin, and I got the fucking tattoo after that.
What is that tattoo? I don't recognize.
This is the singer symbol. On the fourth album, they all the members have a symbol, and this is the singer symbol.
Oh, wow.
And I got into music very late, musically, instrumentally. I got into music very late, but I was a huge music fan from the very beginning. But when I was about 21, I met this band, and they were instrumental, but...
You met this band?
Yeah.
What were they called?
The Pepper Moss.
Okay.
I met them at this place called Albasha. It's on...
is this in the Valley?
It kind of went out of business, and the building got demolished, and they put up some fucking offices and shit. But they were this great instrumental band, very psychedelic, very vintage 70s, and a friend invited me to go watch them, and I saw them. And I hung out with them afterwards, and I was like, man, you guys, like, your music's fucking awesome, you know? They're like, oh, we're looking for a singer. I was like, oh, well, you know, I have songs written, but I've never sung before. I've never sung in public or never sung for anybody, really. I don't even know if I can sing. And we hung out the whole night. We went back to their place, and they wanted me to sing for them, so I sang, and they dug it, and they were like, hey, you know, you should be our singer, and we got a couple of shows coming up. We should do it. I was like, all right, you know, I'll take a risk. Let's do it. And it worked out, and we did really great. And I kind of got my jump start into music from then.
When you were a kid, what kind of things did you dream about?
You
know, like my son, I have a 10-year-old son. He wants to be a wrestler right now. Yeah. That's what he's into. That's what he's been into for a long time. You know, so he looks at like push-ups and doing squats as like little challenges, and who knows what he's going to want to do 10 years from now. Who knows when he's 20? It might change 100 times. But when you were 10, when you were 8, that age, you know, what were some of the things that, you know, who were your heroes, if you had any, and what were some things that, you know, started off as a fantasy that you wanted to bring to life when you grew up?
Well, I loved wrestling too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, like Goldberg and Diamond Dallas Page.
My cousin actually has a Goldberg, the Goldberg tribal tattoo.
Shit.
Yeah, he loves them.
Yeah. When I was a kid, man, I loved that shit. I would play, I forgot what game it was, but it was on the N64.
No Mercy?
And probably. And it had the stuffed animal, and you'd fucking bend his arm, and he'd fucking be like, ouch, and you fucking pin him down, and the referee would call out or something like that. But yeah, the Hulk and Goldberg and Diamond Dallas Page and what's his name? Rey Mysterio. That was probably my favorite.
You look like a big Sting guy.
Sting?
Sure.
Like the musician?
No, the wrestler Sting. He came out like in crow makeup.
Oh, okay, yeah. Kind of like the Undertaker.
Sort of.
They almost like the same kind of makeup, right?
But Rey Mysterio, I think he's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
He's still going.
Yeah. Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
There's this wrestling promotion called Lucha Underground on Robert Rodriguez's El Rey network. They have all the episodes on YouTube. And he just started working there. So this guy has like 9 knee surgeries on each knee. Like it's mad, you know.
Damn.
But he's very inspiring. So like as a kid, wrestling was kind of like your thing?
Yeah, I mean, for a while, I went through a little rap phase when I was younger.
You've gone through a lot of, you know, different mediums.
Yeah, I mean, we all try and...
I always project and I assume that, like, you know, if I talk to an actor, usually that was their thing very early on, or they wanted to be a mime or something in that field, you know? Or like a stand-up, they associated with stand-up comedy kind of right out the gate. You know, you're like a chameleon, you know? You kind of are into many different things.
Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to find our identity, and I feel like I want to just throw it out and... whichever one takes the bait.
So how did you fall into filmmaking? You started recording skateboarding. You started editing yourself.
Yes.
And how did you take that to like a story format? You know, because that's completely different.
I decided to study it in school. My father, who is a civil engineer, successful civil engineer.
What does he do precisely?
Fabrication. He has his own business. He's
that's legit.
Yeah. I'm very proud of him. He came from practically nothing, and
Mexican?
Yes.
Your mom's Mexican too?
Yeah, but like Spaniard.
Okay.
Mexican.
Sure.
But my dad came from like 16 brothers and sisters.
Brutal.
So he had to make a name for himself and went out and studied his ass off and worked his
First generation American?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No. Maybe like second or third.
Okay.
But he worked as a civil engineer, went to school, married very young. He had kids very young, so, you know, he struggled a lot. And started his own business, and he's very successful now. So he wanted me to become an engineer too. And I studied that for a bit, but the more I studied it, the more anxiety I got, because
kind of in over your head sort of thing. Overwhelmed?
Not so much. I was very good at math. Okay. I hated it, but I was good at it. But I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker, because I had done so much of it in my skateboarding and I loved to do it. And I knew I would see myself in the future sitting at my desk saying, why didn't I follow my dreams?
Mm-hmm.
So, I had to break it to him. Like, look, Dad, I want to be a filmmaker. I can't do this. As much as I respect you and
How
love
old were you?
This is my freshman year in college.
Like 19, maybe?
Yeah,
Okay.
19.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. It was like halfway into the semester. I was like,
Oh, wow.
backing out. I was like, Dad, I can't do this. Like,
how did he take it?
He's a very open, accepting person. So he was like, okay, son, this is what you want to do, and I support you. He has supported me through everything.
And what does he think now that you've graduated?
He's very proud.
That's great.
Every parent should be proud.
Does he watch your stuff? Should be. Not always. But does he watch your stuff?
Watch my stuff?
Sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Even the most uncomfortable things to watch.
Like what?
I won best film at this DCFI.
How long has that been around?
For about 2 years.
It's still very new, right?
2 years, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So I won the very first one, and it was a film about this heroin addicted couple who overdose and go to like this utopia heaven together. But you don't want to show your parents sort of drug influenced stuff. So
What'd they think of it?
he was impressed, because
You directed it?
yeah, I
That's
directed
cool.
it, shot it, edited everything, produced
Cool.
it.
That's the only way.
Yeah, indie filmmaking.
Yeah.
How it goes.
Did you ever see the movie Candy with Heath Ledger?
Yes.
Okay,
Candy.
yeah, I think that one he plays like maybe crystal meth addict, I think.
Yeah.
And
I think it's heroin.
yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
heroin, and I forgot the actress. Can't remember her name. She came out in Sucker Punch. I don't know if you maybe were influenced by other drug movies.
I had seen a little bit of that when I was like in high school, but I don't remember too much of it. But Requiem for a Dream was something that was like an underlying influence. It wasn't like directly influenced, like, oh, I'm gonna redo this scene or anything like that.
How old were you when you saw that movie?
Oh man, I saw it at my friend Lucy's house. I must have been 18, maybe 17. But it was the most depressing film I'd ever seen in my life.
What was impressive about it?
Depressing?
Oh,
Well,
depressing.
Depressing.
Oh yeah, no, it's my favorite horror movie
Yeah.
for sure.
So in college, one of our first projects was to make a dramatic film, and I was like, "What's the most dramatic thing I've ever seen?" And I thought of Requiem for a Dream. I was like, "How can I do my own version of addiction, stuff like that?" So I did that and incorporated love, kind of like Requiem for a Dream. But with my own sort of ending, because that was way too depressing.
I remember hearing the audio commentary because Requiem for a Dream, Darren Aronofsky based it off of the book, right?
Okay.
And he talked to the screenwriter. So he talked to the author of the book during like the screenwriting process, and they were saying like, in the movie, spoiler alert, Jared Leto gets his arm amputated and it's brutal and it's not a happy ending. It's terrible for everybody in that movie. It's like 4 stories. And I guess the director was kind of like, man, shouldn't there be like, what do we like? It'd probably be better if these guys died, don't you think? Like, this is too bleak. This is too depressing. And the writer was like, no, they have to live, like, because they have to suffer more. Like that's life. Like that's the reality of it. And I remember, I'll never forget that. Like they have to suffer more, and that's what makes that movie so horrifying. Because life goes on. And it's terrible. It's awful, brutal movie. It stuck with me for a long time. Did you ever see the movie Spun?
Yes.
That's one of my favorite drug movies too. I went through a big drug movies were like my bag growing up. I don't know why. They were just inherently cinematic.
Yeah.
Like a Pulp Fiction, a Train Spotting. Spun, Requiem for a Dream. They're so impressive, like visually. There's a lot you can do there. You know what I mean? What are some of your favorite films?
Oh man, probably one of the most profound films have been Stanley Kubrick and Richard Linklater films.
Mm-hmm.
Those like Clockwork Orange, Waking Life.
I love Waking Life.
Oh yeah,
It's one of my favorite movies ever.
I actually worked with his daughter recently.
Oh, what's her name?
Lorelai.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
she acting?
Yeah, she's been doing a lot of acting recently.
Is that in the capacity in which you work with her?
Yes. That band that's coming down recently or soon, telenovela. They live in Austin, and I helped shoot a music video with my friend Vanessa. Thank you very much, and Daniel Everett. I think that was his name, Daniel Everett. He was a DP, and we shot their music video. And Lorelai, I think, was one of the leads. She was one of the lead actresses, and Richard Linklater came by and was hanging out for a bit on set, and it was really fun. They're really cool people.
She's in the Waking Life in the beginning.
She is?
Yeah, do you remember it's the opening scene where they're playing like that little paper
Oh
thing?
shit, that's her.
She's a little girl.
What the fuck? I don't remember
She
that.
says dream is destiny.
Yeah.
I love it. I get chills.
Oh my god, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, man. What other films from Linklater that are profound?
Scanner Darkly.
So you love the whole rotoscoping.
Yeah, where you don't really need a linear story. It's more of the content and the message that's important. And that's what I like, because I like to inform the audience and bring them out of their normal scope of reality, and just sort of inform them and bring them to another way of thinking.
What are some other works of art that have informed you that weren't just entertainment, that kind of had a message, even if it was subliminal?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes you're in love with this person and you see a part of yourself that you've never seen before, or you take some time for yourself and you're sitting out at the beach, or you're sitting out in your backyard, and you have a little bit of self-reflection and revelation.
What was your most recent revelation?
Oh man.
You seem like you're, a very ponderous person, kind of thinking about bigger pictures, very introspective. Do you meditate?
I have. I had this one girlfriend who got me into that. But it was kind of hard for me to sort of silence my thoughts and vibe on one central idea or energy. It was very hard for me, but tried it. Meditation didn't really work, but playing music is sort of my form of meditation, because I focus on what I'm playing, and I zone out, and I get into this realm of just infinity. Everything's possible. And
do you do a lot of drugs?
I've experimented.
With what? Mushrooms, LSD?
Yeah.
Things more psychotropic?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, entheogens and stuff like that.
What's that? I've never heard of that.
Spiritual things, peyote.
Have you ever done peyote?
I might have to keep this PG for my family, because I know they're gonna find this.
Are they? Do they go?
They probably will. They probably will find
this.
this.
So, but you pleading the fifth there?
I've experimented plenty.
It's a tunnel that is always fascinating to me to go down.
But it all comes to the same conclusion, that you are the maker of your own life, and
it's your responsibility.
Yes,
you're the cause of
very
your own
existential.
Suffering.
Yeah,
sure.
And you create your own reality, and
could you walk me through a time you took something organic and you came out on the other side more self-aware or something of that sort? Could you walk me through a trip, maybe? A trip down memory lane, ladies and gentlemen.
Sometimes it's a lot more visual than it is spoken, but in those times your filters are sort of released and lowered, and you're able to intake more of your surroundings and life and reality, and you don't take it in a sort of funnel where it's just survival. You're able to appreciate the little things and the details and stuff like that. And that's when you realize that you're more important than everything else that's going on. You need to put yourself first and how you're feeling than the external pressure and all that, because we all get stressed out and by what's given to us, and we don't take the time to think about ourselves and what we want. But in those times, you focus on that and you realize that's what's more important, and that's sort of what I've been living by.
I actually have drug-free tattooed on my knuckles, and I was living in Austin for 9 months, 2012, 2013, and I was living with these drug dealers at the time, and they brought in, they're like 4 black dudes, but they were really cool, and they pretty much just like grew their own weed, like hydro, stuff like that, and it was like an education to me because I wasn't really, I didn't really grow up with that or anything. And one of these guys, his cousins, came out of town, whatever, and brought LSD, and I said, you know what? And he kind of offered it to me, and I said, oh man, like that's a big one. I've always wanted to do it, specifically because, when I realized I wanted to be a filmmaker, it involved a lot of history and a lot of education, and you find different people that become your people, and you see their backstory. I've read a lot of biographies, and sometimes, and I'm not trying to glamorize this or romanticize hallucinogens, but I was like, yeah, well, what if it can make me a better artist? Like, what if it can make me a better person? What's the worst that can happen? You know what? It was at a very tough time in my life, no excuses. I've had this conversation with my mother, and I took it. And I was kind of like, it was probably a dud. And then all of a sudden, I took a shower, and I got out of the shower, and I was like, oh shit, what is happening? And it became like this, and I know you said it was more visual for you. For me, it was definitely like instead of a dialogue in my brain, it became a monologue, and it was my ego dissolved, and that was very enlightening to say, whoa, all this shit that gives me an anxiety and stress and all the things that are a pain in the ass, like I manifest that. I let that in, I invite it, and I bring it in here, and I water it, and it becomes weeds in my brain that I have to yank out. And I was like, whoa, and it was very introspective, man. And that's really what I got out of it, was I'm the cause of my own suffering. My ego gets in the way. Suffering comes from it comes from me, it comes from yourself. And if you're in a state of grace where you're just giving and you're contributing, you can't really suffer. It's like an oxygen-rich environment. It's like a perfect pH level. You can't suffer in that state. And I only took it that one time, and I'm fortunate that it worked out for me. I remember I lived on this place called Riverside Drive, and there was like KFC, Subway, it was just a big corporation strip. It was disgusting. And I walked down it at 3 a.m, and I'm in the peak of the trip. And I find myself in a gas station, and I'm like, what am I doing here? I was basically looking for somebody. It was dumb, right? And this gas station clerk, I think, could tell I was on something and was like, can I help you, sir? And I was like, yeah, I'll take a Pepsi. I don't know. I was like, I can't just be here, because I was like, isn't this weird? Whatever. I didn't see unicorns or something crazy like that. But I walk out with this Pepsi, and I'm walking back to my apartment, and I'm seeing the Pepsi logo, and I realize, man, this thing had my money before I bought it. This thing, I don't even, it's toxic sludge, it's sugar water. I don't even want this thing. The label, we've associated decadence to the label, to the colors, to the brand. But I was like, this, and it took me to this whole other trip of man, everything's being sold to you, and you think you have a choice between Coke and Pepsi, but that's not a fucking choice. You know what I mean? And all this crap. And
dude, we need to put the camera on you, man.
No.
This is some great shit.
No. But I'm only sharing this because I want you to trust me, because I don't want you to get into some hot water with your family or anything. But I don't think it's anything to be ashamed about. Exploring yourselves. And I did that when I was 25 years old. You're 24, so I think that your early 20s, your youth, you have to check how far your elasticity can go, your soul, your body, whatever that is. What was the deepest thing in any sort of trip you've ever been where you had that some sort of aha moment, and how have you taken that with you to your life today, and have you ever incorporated that to your art?
Well, I had this one trip where I was a very evangelical Christian.
Was?
Yes, very.
Okay.
Very straight edge. Didn't curse, didn't do anything. I would condemn my friends for smoking cigarettes and break them and stuff. And I had a trip, and it felt like the floodgates opened, and my own personality and myself was released, and I didn't have to live by these barriers or these laws, these moral laws or anything. And I could create my own philosophy, my own religion and stuff like that. So after that, I sort of broke through everything, and I told my parents, like, look, I don't want to be this anymore. I can't live by this, this restrictions, and sort of created my own philosophy and reality. And subconsciously you incorporate it into your art and whatever you do, but
how did they take that? Because I'm assuming
it's a different generation, so of
different
course
generation.
they're gonna be.
I'm assuming they were evangelical, or maybe still are Christians, or was that your own thing?
My father was a bit more loose. My mom was a bit more tight, and I was living with my father at the time, so he was a little okay with it, but. He's supported me through everything, and
you seem like you're doing all right.
Yeah. For now.
I think you're gonna be okay. Do you have a day job?
Yeah, well, I do gigs, weddings, stuff like that.
Oh, like videography.
Yeah, videography.
That's cool. How does that work out for you?
It's good. Except for the editing. I hate editing.
Why is that?
If it's not my footage, it's a drag.
You mean like Photoshop or video editing?
Video.
Okay.
Yeah, video editing. I've been doing that for weddings for a bit now, but I still help Silver and do other things. Sometimes I'll teach lessons and stuff like that. Whatever, just little gigs and play music and,
cool.
Do shows and stuff.
Well, where are you living right now? I know you said McAllen, but still with Dad?
Yeah. He's like my best friend, really. We
Really?
hang out, we watch fights, we drink beers, and...
Oh, how fun. I never had that.
He's got a very young soul.
Yeah, it sounds like him. He's the guy that introduced you to Zepp.
Yeah. Well, a lot more than that, but yeah, he's like my best friend. He's very young at heart, but he's got a strong personality.
So one of the big recurring themes of this podcast I've noticed, you and everybody else that I've talked to so far have said, they were doing something that they didn't love, whether if that was being a fry cook, whether if that was going to school for a degree that they didn't love, being a teacher, whatever it was, and they realized, I have to do something that I love. And I think that is something I don't take for granted. But it seems like with artists, more often than not, we're asked to conform, and then we realize that's not me. What has that's been one of the recurring themes. Another one has been, with the RGV, the current state of the arts. It's growing. Yeah. I've seen it grow in the past year, probably more so than I ever have back, since the glory days of early 2000s maybe. Where do you fit with the scene? Do you have your own group of people? What is that? Is there a collaboration? What is that like? Do you guys grow together? Is it kind of just everybody's just an independent party? What has your experience been like? The more exposure you get with the Rio Grande Valley, the more feedback you get as well. What has that been like for you?
I will answer that. I actually need to go to the restroom really bad.
Okay, cool.
So
where we left off was the current state of the RGV when it comes to the arts. And when it comes to, my girlfriend has always told me, you have to find your people. And that's been hard for me. Personally speaking, I looked for a long time for what I refer to as the Godfather. If you've ever seen the movie, Don Corleone, Marlon Brando, in part 2, they do a flashback, it's Robert De Niro. He was the Godfather, not just for his relatives, but for people in his apartment. If somebody needed a job, if somebody needed a loaf of bread, he'd hook them up, and it was kind of like a, I'll take care of you sort of thing. I was looking for that person. I wanted to be an apprentice for that person, you know? And it was actually after working with Valley Native, I realized it's got to be me. Like, I got to be the change that I want to see. I got to be my own boss. You know, I would talk about people like, hey, you guys should do a podcast. And then after a while, I was like, I'm just going to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I started, you know, doing everything that I wanted to do, see things that I wanted to see. I was waiting for one person that was doing it. I was trying to find the Godfather, and I realized I had to become that, or at least perform those actions anyway. And that's been my experience. Down here, what has your expectations been like? What has your experience been like? And how does it affect you or not?
What you said is very true. When I first got into music, the kind of things that, the kind of style and genre that me and my friends were doing was not very popular here yet. So what we had to do was create our own scene. We, you know, had reached out to promoters and stuff, but there weren't any other bands that sort of sound like us that we could fit in with. So we reached out to venues and clubs and bars and stuff and found our own places where we could play for as long as we wanted, and would do that and invited our friends, and those friends invited their friends, and we created a following. And that's kind of how you got to do it. If the environment doesn't allow it, you got to do it yourself. And in the valley, it's growing, and it's still small as far as music and stuff like that is. So if you don't really feel like you fit in, you just got to do it yourself and make yourself fit in.
What's your experience has been like in the filmmaking community? With music, it feels like you found your niche, you created it yourself, you created your own following, and it seems like you continue to nurture that. With filmmaking, what has been your experience?
It's very different from music, because it's not such an immediate reaction as music is. Because when you play the music, you hear it and you feel it, and either you like it or you don't. But with film, it's a building process, it's a collaborating process. You get a bunch of people who believe in your work or whatever it is to help you, and you know, later on it comes out, and you know, you've got your film. It's not so much an immediate response. So film has been, well, for me, I'm very independent. I like to do the cinematography, I like to do the directing, I like to do the editing. So there's not a lot of people in my crew, but I like to help out other people and help their dreams come alive. And even if I don't agree with, you know, the style or the message or whatever, I like to be a part of it because I understand what they want out of it, and it's hard to find people who believe in that and want to help. And you know, we just need more people who are wanting to put something out than not do anything at all.
It seems like, you know, in bigger cities, one could make an argument, like in the film scene anyways, that there's too much content, there's too much stuff coming out. Do you feel like in the Valley that's not the case? Where it's the adverse problem?
It depends. I mean, I might be ignorant to, you know, another group of people that are putting content out every day or something like that.
Who are your tribe?
Well, I'm still involved with the skateboarding scene, and I used to help out this YouTube channel who actually has like, oh my god, like hundreds of thousands of followers.
Skateboarding scene?
Yes, that's very huge online, especially YouTube. And it's a major crew. I love those guys. They're my buddies, my good friends. I see them very often. And I do a lot of photos for them, the skateboarding photos. Those are for a lot of the major crew guys, and a lot of them have gained a lot of success from the YouTube videos that they've done. You know, they start from nothing, and as long as you keep producing and keep putting out content, you'll gain a lot of followers and an audience. And I started from that. I still help them out, but as far as the short films and stuff like that down here, there's there's not really a scene for it. It's not like they're putting out screenings or stuff like that where people can get together and watch them every Thursday, like a music show or something like that, where bands will play and
Do you
can
think
get together.
do you think the community would be open minded to that as well?
Filmmaking has a lot of ego.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's your project, it's your baby, and you put it out and you want people to like it.
But how is skateboarding different?
It's very accepting because everyone has their own different style, and it can be all about you, but you like to skateboard with other people. It's a very communal thing.
It's odd to me that I think you're right, but it's odd that in the filmmaking scene there would be that much ego when, like, who's the guy that deserves that acclaim down here? I mean, do I not know somebody?
I mean, I don't know myself.
I'm not asking you to throw anybody under the bus, but where does this ego come from? That's different. Like with skateboarding, this guy, he puts up or shuts up. He'll show you what he can do. Mm-hmm. He can have a greatest hits YouTube clip of like, here's my past 5 years of whatever. In the filmmaking scene, why would anybody have that audacity? That's odd. It should be far more humbling.
It should, but we all have our dreams and our ideas, and we put them into our films, and we feel like they're important, and we want a sort of reaction from them, and if we don't get it, then it's sort of like what did I do wrong, who's doing it better, what should I look for, but I just really haven't found the film culture down here yet. Mm-hmm. That's why we sort of started the DCFI Film Festival, to bring more people into...
When you say who's we, who is we?
A lot of the class of filmmakers that I went to school with. This guy, Eduardo Gamba, he was the sort of founder and president of the Directors Film Club Initiative Film Club, mm-hmm. and from there we started the DCFI Film Festival.
Is that for college students specifically?
The club started from college, but we made the film festival open to anybody. We've had international submissions, local submissions, and it doesn't really matter. We just want to bring more film content to the Valley to show people that we have a voice, and if you have your own voice, you can bring it to us and we'll project it out there.
And how is it fared? It's done maybe 2 festivals?
3. We've done 3. We do
great.
one every, we do 2 a year. We do 2 film festivals a year. Focusing on, college students who are doing semesters and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it's done pretty well. We have a lot of people who are working for the film festival, like they'll make films just for the film festival, mm-hmm. which is what we want. We want people making more content, more people writing, more people shooting, and it's good for young filmmakers, something to make their films worth it, mm-hmm. because a lot of the times we'll make them and we'll have an audience of
it's a very expensive medium.
Yeah, we'll only have a handful of our best friends watch it, or our family, or whatever, mm-hmm. and we want to be rewarded for it sometimes. We want to be recognized and appreciated for what we do.
Well, I mean, when you say you want to be recognized, I often feel significance is a huge component with artists. They want to be like, this is me, this is immortality, this is, whether if you're a poet, a guitarist, a filmmaker, a skateboarder, even if you're an athlete, significance is a huge deal. It's competitive by nature, they want to be champions. I mean, what are some goals that you have that would make you feel significant, that makes you be like, I accomplished that next goal?
Well, you'll always have that one goal you want to achieve, and then once you achieve that, you want to achieve something greater and bigger. But I mean, I've had a few, but you're always striving for more. It's the never-ending cycle.
What's an example of one goal that maybe you've already achieved?
Well,
I mean, getting your degree is a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, I did that. It was more of discipline than artistry. But the first DC5 Film Festival, we had, what was his name? Valente from the George Lopez show. He was an alumni from Pan Am. We had him as one of the main judges. I had submitted a couple films to the film festival just for fun. My first dramatic short and my first music video. And for the award ceremony, I got best music video, and I was like, okay, great. This is as far as I'm gonna get. I'm happy with this. And for the best film, I was nominated, and I was like, okay, that's nice. That's good enough for me. And there was this other film that I really liked, and I thought that one was gonna win, but Valente ended up choosing mine. And I was like, holy shit! I didn't think. It was that great. It was like a one-man crew. I did it myself. It was my first dramatic film, but that was this sort of enlightening achievement. Like, hey, you know what? I can do something from this. If he recognizes something good in my material, then I think I might have something here. But and then there's music where I start a project with the group, and it goes really well, and then we get asked to do a festival, and that's another little achievement. We're like, we've got something good here. We've got this great chemistry with the band members, so let's keep doing this. And you achieve those things, and then you set a higher goal. You set further achievements, and we're still grabbing for them. As long as you set little goals and you achieve those, there's some gratification in that.
Do you still have stuff maybe lined up, little short-term goals for 2016 that you're aiming towards? There's still 5 months
just
left.
Waking up and appreciating that you're alive sometimes. But
what's next for Eric Echo in film?
I don't know. I've been doing a lot of acting. Sometimes you're in a rut where you don't really have any inspiration to create some new film content. I've been focusing on a lot more music, because that's a great form of meditation for me, and I've been channeling that a lot more.
What's next for Eric Echo, the musician?
Well, I have a group right now, and I think we have 2 or 3 shows lined up so far. So I want to keep doing that, learn more guitar. I don't know if I'm going to perform guitar, but definitely singing with the group and building off that.
One thing I've learned, the more I meet people that are more experienced than me, and dare I say better than me, is, when I was growing up, 18, 19, 20 years old, I think I was very competitive. I think I'd look at people that were better than me, and I was like, whoa, like what? Like, what makes them so good? But, a wiser person told me that it's all relative. If you were to look at everything on a timeline, they're just further down the timeline. They've just put in more hours or work, or that's it. It's like from fetus to, the 3rd trimester to birth. Like, it's just part of the timeline. Where would you say in film are you on the timeline there? And do you know where you want to go in a few years or something like that? For some people that I've talked to, they want an Academy Award. For some people that I talk to, they want to be in the Cannes Film Festival or something like that. They have these little carrots that they're chasing after. Where are you on the timeline, and where do you want to go?
I mean, it's all relative to yourself. It might be different for you, the way you see me. But I still feel like I'm still in the fetus. It's better to feel like you know nothing than to feel like you know everything.
Do you feel that way with the other mediums?
Yeah, definitely, because I still feel like I'm a terrible singer.
Do you get that feedback?
It depends.
Is that you being humble?
I mean, I feel like I know that I'm still a terrible singer.
Has anybody ever told you that?
Oh, definitely, you know.
They say,
But
dude, what was that? You suck. Something like that?
yeah, and it's better to recognize that than to recognize that you know everything and that you're this
Oh, yeah.
incredible performer or singer or whatever, so that you can build and want to learn more and to practice more and to be a better singer.
What are some states of mind that you value in specific terms?
Um, that you don't really know everything yet.
What would you call that? That feeling?
I mean, you can say that you're humble,
Okay.
but
The feeling of humility, the feeling
yeah,
of being
definitely.
humble, of being, gracious.
Uh-huh.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
What are some other states of mind that you really value? Like, to the point where you think about that, you have an old man, and he's probably instilled in you some things that you take very seriously. And one of these days, far down the timeline, maybe you decide to have kids if you want, and you're probably going to instill those values into this child. And the mate that you feel that you deem worthy enough to be the vessel of your child, your girlfriend, your wife, whomever, you want your values to be aligned as well. If you guys want to go as far as you can. What are some other values that you really take seriously that mean a lot to you, that are make or break, that you take with you wherever you go?
One thing that I would instill on someone else is that because you are alive and you're breathing and you can make choices, you should be able to help one another, help your brother and sister realize that they are important and they can make their own choices and be someone important to someone else. And we all have this underlying artistry and importance and individuality that some people don't even realize or know, and you need to channel it and wake it up and not be afraid to be yourself or different or an individual, and go off and do those things that you feel that you can do.
Well, sure, of course, and I totally agree. But you mean? I feel like maybe we're probably not on the same page in terms of like what a value is and like what it could be to you. For some people it's adventure. They really value adventure. For another, they value security. So those two people are going to make different decisions based on those values. I think discovery, just from talking to you, sounds like it's a big one for you. You want to go deeper. You want to know more. I think you fancy yourself more as a student than a teacher. I think you're aware of the areas of opportunity that you have to grow, as a photographer, as a filmmaker, as an editor, as a singer, as a musician. You want to grow. That way you have more to contribute, to leave behind. I think those are big things, right? When you look for a girl or a dude, whatever you're into, what are some things that you're like, I'm really turned on about that person because they extrude that, that thing that like I really value and care about in life. You know what I mean?
Someone who knows who they are, knows where they're going, and someone that can teach something to someone else, that's got a lot of value in themselves. But at the same time, I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to see where I'm going. I'm throwing my reel out in different ponds and seeing which one takes the bait.
I think that's a beautiful place where you're at. I kind of felt that I'm definitely projecting a lot, and I'm sorry if I am. It's because that was definitely me for 16 years, from like right out the womb to 16. I was like, I don't know who my people are. I don't even know what I want to do. I was kind of aimless, lost, until I realized, oh, I'm a filmmaker. That makes a lot of sense. That explains why I blah, 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 blah. And with that came a burden, and it also came like kind of like instructions of like, okay, you have a long road ahead. So you need to educate yourself. You need to read these books. You need to see over 10,000 films and all this other stuff. So I could feel like I could hang and be one of the boys. That was very important to me. So I I knew what the road was ahead, and I traveled down that road. I still travel down that road, and it's been fun, and I've met a lot of interesting people along the way. I've achieved some goals, and after that, it was kind of like, is this all there is? What's next for me? And I had to create new goals. And one thing that's really turned me on lately, and this is very personal. When I was 16, which was 12 years ago, 2004, filmmaker, like, nobody was calling themselves a filmmaker. So it was a big deal. That word had meaning. And I don't want to go on a trip or anything right now, but I'm very passionate about this. Now everybody's a filmmaker, and that word has lost its meaning. Like the commercialization of the word love. Like, it doesn't mean as much as it used to. And I value that. You know, I've made 4 feature films myself. You know, I've done some shorts. I just did like my first short this year, and it was fun, and I love it. And I don't think I'm a master by any means. I'm the harshest critic of my work. But it's kind of like, okay, I for a long time I was an aspiring filmmaker, and that just ate me alive. You know, 4 years ago, almost to the day, I released my first film, and finally I felt like I'd arrived. I no longer have to carry the burden of like an aspiring filmmaker. You know, now a big thing that really turns me on is the spirit of the entrepreneur. I really like that, because just like how in 2004 filmmaking, the word filmmaker had some sort of regalness to it. There was some something powerful about it. Now I feel like it's been watered down. It's been neutered. Everybody calls themselves a filmmaker now, and it really hurts. And I'm fine with the technology being accessible. I'm fine with somebody buying a GoPro and then they do that and they do something new with it. That's great. They are a filmmaker, you know? They are the dreamers of the dream. They are the music makers, and I appreciate that. But there's something different about, it's like being a whale in a teardrop as opposed to a big fish in a small pond, an entrepreneur, you know? And I like the idea of they're controlling the conversation. They're controlling the nature of business. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you're a big summer blockbuster movie guy, but like Suicide Squad just came out and it bombed. You know, the critics shat all over it. People hated it before it came out. People hated it when Jared Leto came out as the Joker, right? It's the first picture. They hated it, but it made a fuckload of money, and I appreciate that, and I think it did good business, and I think it's fine. I love how Warner Brothers, that company, and the psychology behind that are the ones that are controlling the conversation and are controlling what people intake, and are, without even knowing it, planting seeds for the future new crop of filmmakers. And I love that. And that is the studio, not just the director, David Ayer, who made the movie, but like the filmmaker is like, people are taking the power away, you know, but the entrepreneur, the businessman, like they're the ones that actually are leaving behind a legacy. And if you're a Stanley Kubrick, or if you're a Steven Spielberg, now you can produce other people's films. So if somebody says, you know, Quentin Tarantino presents, you're like, oh, I care. You know what I mean? And that is something that has really interested me lately. And so I take the word filmmaker very seriously. And I guess I just want to impart to you, you know, you seem like a jack of all trades. And I'm jealous of that, because I'm just a dude that knows how to do one thing, and it takes me 10 years to figure out something new. You know, I'm still on that process. You know, a skateboarder, man, that is incredible. I see people skateboarding in Dana, you know, they go from one place to another, and I'm like, that's the best way to fucking travel. If I could do that, that's the way I would do it. I know this photographer in Dana, who takes beautiful stills of skateboarders, and he makes me appreciate that subculture even more so. He's an adrenaline junkie. So I admire what you do, and I've seen it in your work. You know, you leave fingerprints on your work, whether if you mean to or not. And I knew what an Eric Echo shot was before I met you. You're doing something right. You know, in acting, I haven't seen you do that, but the fact that you can do that, you have big grapefruits, man. You have big balls, and you're able to put on all these hats. I would love to be able to go to an open mic and have a conversation with the crowd. I can't do that. I'd rather film somebody else. You know what I mean? That's me. So, you know, you have your hands in a lot of jars. You're able to wear a lot of hats. You can do it all. I want to know what you're really after. That's important to me. What are you really after? You know what I mean? Because when you know what that is, you know, okay, I can put all my resources there because I'm going to be getting this out of it, you know? So for some people, that's a teacher. They really care about, you know, getting people to understand point A to point B. Or they really want to educate someone, or they really want to make somebody else's dream come true. For some actors, they're like, hey, the director tells me what to do, and I'm just a slave for them. You know what I mean? And I'm like, whoa, they know what they're really after. You know what I mean? What is it that drives you? I know self-discovery is huge. You seem like a very chill dude. You seem very zen and down to earth. What is something that you can't live without? I want to know what you're really after as an artist.
Well, as an artist, you see these sort of different hobbies and stuff like that as mediums. You want to be able to tell a story through a different platform. So you see film, and you can tell these elaborate stories with subtle messages and stuff like that, and visuals and sounds and editing, and there's just so many ways to tell a story. And through music, it's all audio, and when it's a performance, it's visual and audio. So for me, it's just a different medium, a different way to get my message out.
What's your message?
Do you know
what your message is?
It depends.
Okay.
So, sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's political, sometimes it's love, sometimes it's hate. It all depends. Your emotions vary through the day, and sometimes you write this and you mean this. You write a script about falling in love with someone and meeting this person.
What is the message behind your musical expression? In terms of your genre, in terms of maybe lyrical content?
It depends on the song. It depends on how I'm feeling at the time. A lot of the times we improvise our music. We'll be playing a song that we've all rehearsed, and in the middle we'll leave it for improvisation. And the guitar player will go off and do a solo, and the drummer will go off, and the bass player will go off. And I'll improvise on lyrics, and I'll probably talk about something that's been on my mind, maybe a girl or some political thing or some social thing, or just whatever I'm feeling, So it all varies. There's not just this one thing that I'm trying to say or that I'm after. I'm sort of like a reflection of my environment and
it sounds
my
like
feelings.
you genuinely enjoy being alive and in the moment.
I feel like everybody should.
Everybody should.
And
a lot of people are on zombie autopilot.
That's kind of what I try to put out there. It's okay to just accept it and regurgitate how you're feeling and what you're accepting and receiving and putting out. And don't be afraid to channel it and let go and let everyone see who you really are. And if they accept it, then great. If not, then fuck them.
Fuck them. I'll leave it with this, man. How old were you when you were still a self-professed evangelical Christian? 15?
I was about 15, 16.
So for someone that's listening to the podcast, down the line, years from now, this is still going to be around, and there's a 15-year-old Eric Echo out there in the making, and you know exactly what that kid's feeling. What do you want to leave him with today? And he's open, and he's still trying to apply his identity, and he's looking for someone to tell him the right thing at his level, and it's going to evolve. It's not just one thing and that's the way it is. That Eric Echo very well when he was 15 years old. What would you tell that kid? Because he's out there in the valley and he's going to listen to this.
One important trait that I've learned to develop, and that is very important, is confidence. And you need to have confidence in yourself and who you believe you are and what you're doing, or else no one will take you seriously or believe in what you're doing. If you want someone to help you out on something, a project or a film or a song or whatever, you gotta have confidence in yourself, or else they won't trust you. They won't believe in what you're doing is passionate. And whoever you are and whatever you're feeling, you gotta have confidence in whatever you're doing. And
how did you get your confidence?
I don't know. I don't know how to trace it. It's sort of like this blending of colors. There's you have one color and then you have the other color, and in the middle it's just this blend, and you don't really know how it starts and how it begins.
Do you remember a time when you weren't the most confident?
I've heard stuff from my dad telling me things, from when I was like in first grade, and I had these friends who really liked me and stuff like that. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I've always had it from when I was a kid. I was a real class clown. I didn't really, care what the teachers were saying. I just wanted to make everyone laugh and have a good time. And maybe it came from that, just not not caring what people thought about me, or caring more about the other people.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think if you're in tune with that as an artist, that's half of it. That's half the game. If I want to make the audience feel this way, or I want these skateboarders to appreciate that. How can I make them look better? Or in the crowd with music, I want to get people to stand up and move. You know what I mean? If that's what it is, and you're not aware of how you're executing it, but you just are. That's confidence. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. And it takes a while for people to develop, but that is the most important thing, especially if you're like a film director. You need that confidence. The people need to believe in you. They need to rely on you. They need to know, okay, this is where the vision's going. If you want to be a leader, you got to have the confidence. And we all want to be leaders, especially in our own lives, and especially in what we're doing and our own goals and stuff. We want to be the captain of our ship. And if you're a captain, you got to have a crew to help you out. And the crew's got to believe in you. So, you got to develop that confidence in some way or another. But
I believe in you, Eric Echo. Where can people find you online? What's your social?
I've got Facebook, I've got Instagram, I've got a Twitter, but I don't know. That's I'm a little bit too out there for even my own self sometimes.
If I want to see your photography, where can I find it?
Probably my Facebook. My Facebook's probably my best place to.
If I want to see your award-winning short films, where can I find it?
I've got a YouTube channel too.
What's it called?
Eric Echo. It's all Eric.
ERIC.
Yes. ERIC.
Yes. ERICECHO.
Yes.
On YouTube.
Yes.
And on Instagram.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking time out of your day, calling my bluff. This is very last minute. It wasn't planned, but I'm glad we were able to have this talk, man. How do you feel about it?
Yeah. I wanted to do it at my place, but I got to take you out on the first date first.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's all it is.
We got to go on the first
next
date.
time, let's do that.
Yeah, next time it'll be my place. We'll have a couple whiskey and cokes.
I'll watch you have a few.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Well, thanks for taking time out of your day to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun, man.